watching Gearz, brought to you by LMC Truck. Restore, maintain, customize.
You know, one of the cool things about doing a show called Gearz is that we get to do everything. I mean, you're gonna see sports cars and hot rods, muscle cars, trucks, motorcycles. I mean, you name it. You are eventually probably gonna see it on this show. And that is why every once in a while, I like to roll in something that not only has a huge cool factor, but it's also something you wouldn't normally see on a TV show. A prime example of that is a project we did a while back that involved taking an old derelict ATV from the 70s called the SureTrek and bringing it back to life. Check it out. The first step was to treat the SureTrek to some much needed fiberglass repair. You ready to do this, Craig?
Go for it.
All right. Oh, it's heavier than it looks. All right, thank you. Next, we cleaned up and dropped in a big Polaris snowmobile engine to make sure we had plenty of power to turn all 8 of those tires. Then it was off to the testing grounds to see what something like this was capable of. And we revealed all the positive aspects of this kind of design. As well as some of the weaknesses. We found out why all the fiberglass is broken on this thing. You got some weak chains. Look at this. It snapped the chain in the front, just split that thing apart, and broke the chain in the back at exactly the same time. Look at that. So we got a strength issue here, which we'll take care of, and we'll get back out here. With the 8-wheel drive and the articulating body, the SureTrek will handle ledges and overhangs like any good ATV should. The only real limiting factor here is the steering, because when things get bumpy, well, you never quite know where this thing's gonna go. But it usually involves a tree. Of course, the response to this project was huge, and the question that we got over and over about it was, why didn't somebody actually build a real version of this vehicle? You know, fix the problems like the steering and things like that, and really do it right. I mean, there's no question that that design had the potential to be an awesome rig. Well, it's funny you should mention that, because somebody did build that vehicle, and they did do it right. It was called the Gamma Goat. The Gamma Goat began life in 1959 as the brainchild of the Chance Vought Company, who set out to build for the military a vehicle with an articulating body and drive wheels in both sections. The reasoning behind the design was that a conventional truck or tracked vehicle had severe limitations when it came to extremely rough, wet landscapes that had deep ravines, quicksand, and other serious obstacles. As you can see, they'd get hung up and stuck fairly easily. Since this was exactly the type of terrain that we were facing in Korea and especially Vietnam, the need for a lightweight, go-anywhere all-terrain vehicle was paramount to carry troops and supplies into these inaccessible areas. With its 6-wheel drive, articulating body, and the ability to float, the Gamma Goat fit the bill perfectly. Because of that, the Gamma Goat served its country honorably for many years, until it was retired from service in the 80s and then quietly disappeared into the annals of military history. Now, I know you're thinking, wait a minute. Come on, that can't be all there is to the story. I mean, what kind of engine did that thing have? And how did it steer? And how did it work? Come on, we want those gearhead details. Well, we know you want that. That's what this show is all about. So that is what we're going to give you, the rest of the story. Now, there's no doubt that the Gamma Goat was a very unique vehicle in a lot of ways, and we just happen to have one at our disposal. So we're going to walk you through it real quick, show you how these things work. Now, I know it looks really heavy, but the body was made out of aluminum, which means there's no protection there. It's not going to be stopping any bullets. But that aluminum and the fact that everything is sealed up gave the Goat the ability to float. And just like the little SureTrek, the tires are what give you your propulsion when you're in the water. Except notice how low the Gamma Goat sits in the water. This is definitely not for rough water crossings or for the faint of heart. The front section holds the engine, a passenger, and the driver. The rear section was designed to carry cargo or troops. Power is provided by a supercharged 3-cylinder, 2-stroke Detroit diesel engine that runs through a 4-speed manual transmission. A 2-speed transfer case lets you choose between high or low range, and you have the choice of 2-wheel drive for the road or 6-wheel drive for when things get really nasty. And just like the SureTrek, this sucker's hard to get in and out of too. So I guess the really big questions are, where in the world do you find something like this? Can you get the parts to service it, and is it street legal? I mean, is this something that you could actually enjoy? Well, believe it or not, you can get Gamma Goats and all kinds of hard parts for them right off of numerous military vehicle websites, Gamma Goat websites, even eBay. I mean, I bought this thing right off of eBay. Then, of course, all of the oils, the antifreezes, the belts, the filters, those are all available at your local auto parts store. So, servicing is not a problem. Now, they are street legal. So since you can actually register these things to drive them on the street, man, people pick them up left and right quickly. So if you find one and you want it, you better jump on it. Now, one question that comes up all the time when people are restoring a military vehicle is, where do you get tires? And that is where the aftermarket steps in. Now, what we've got here are 6 brand new non-directional tread 11 by 18 military tires that we got from Coker Tire in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Now, this is the style of tire that everybody wants that's restoring a military vehicle. Except now you don't have to spend money on used junk from an Army surplus store because you can get them new. Now, to go with that, we also got new liners and new inner tubes from Coker because you have to use those when you are using a split rim. Now, the best part is Coker just doesn't have the 11 by 18 military tires. They make all kinds of military tires. So if you are restoring a military vehicle, now you know what to do about tires. However, as cool as all this is, the best part about having a Gamma Goat is driving it. And that's exactly what we're going to do. Welcome back to Gearz and our in-depth look at the legendary military vehicle, the 6-wheel drive Gamma Goat. The introductions are all done, and now it's time to drive this thing, and you are along for the ride. On the road, the Goat handles like, well, a Gamma Goat. And the unique steering makes this thing very controllable, but it can be a workout for the driver since the steering is not self-centering. And you better not be in a hurry, because at 50 miles an hour, you aren't going anywhere too fast. But the real magic of the Gamma Goat comes when you take it off-road, into places you would never think to take another vehicle. Because this is what it was made to do. In tight quarters, the Goat is surprisingly nimble despite its size, thanks to the four-wheel steering. And any obstacle that you can't get around, the Goat was designed to go over trees, rocks, even Mark. All right? Yeah. With lockers in the differentials, the articulating body, and the independent suspension, you not only have 6 wheels driving all the time, but they're also all staying in contact with the ground, and this gives the Goat incredible traction. When you encounter an obstacle, the fact that you not only have tires pulling you over it, but also pushing you up it, makes this thing almost unstoppable. Matter of fact, in our quest to find what the limitations of this rig really are, we found that about the only way to stop a Gamma Goat is to hang it up somehow so you lose traction, or run it into a big tree. However, even those can be conquered by changing the line in the obstacle a little bit. And of course, avoiding the big trees. Another really cool thing about this type of vehicle is you don't have to be concerned with how deep a mud hole is or the water is before you venture out into it, because the Goat floats, provided you remember to put your body plugs in. But make no mistake, the Gamma Goat was not designed as a flash and dash recreational vehicle. No. It was a rough and tumble, hardcore off-road vehicle built with a single purpose: to be the best, most versatile off-road vehicle on the planet. And there it is, the Gamma Goat. What an amazing vehicle and an incredible piece of history. Now, like I said before, these vehicles are out there and would make a great affordable project for you to get and tinker on. All you gotta do is find one, put it back to work.
Now, Quick Tip. Brought to you by E3 Spark Plugs. Born to burn.
You know, one of the main tools in any mechanic's arsenal are snips or wire cutters or dikes, whatever you want to call them. These things are great for cutting wire when you need to. Unfortunately, they are also notorious for sending projectiles across the shop into somebody's eye. It gets even worse if that was the piece you were after. Now you got to look for it across the floor. Fortunately, there's a solution to this problem. If you'll take your dikes and fill this little pocket here with some RTV silicone. Then, once it dries, take a razor blade and cut it down the middle, and this is what you end up with. Now, when you go to cut your part, it sits right there waiting for you to come and get it. Simple, easy, no more putting anybody's eye out. If you want to learn some more tips like this on how to keep you and your friends safe in the shop, go to the website, check out the Quick Tips page.
And now, Tool Tech.
You know, if you watch Gearz very much, you know we put a lot of emphasis on tools because they are what make all of this work possible. And undoubtedly one of the best tool investments you can make is a welder. But most people don't have a full custom shop like this, so you don't need all this equipment. You can usually get by with just a single welder. But just having the machine is not enough. No, you need more stuff if you are going to successfully weld your project together. That's what we're going to take a look at. Okay, I guess the most obvious piece of equipment that you're going to need is some sort of helmet with eye protection. And you definitely want to get some sort of an auto-darkening helmet like these from Miller. Check this out. You've got all kinds of cool paint jobs, or you can get it just black and do the Darth Vader thing, or you can paint it up how you want. Now, the way that these things work is that they basically let you see continuously through about a 6 or 7 shade. Then when you strike the arc, instantly black in 1/20,000th of a second to protect your eyes. Then when you're done with the arc, lightens right back up. No more flipping the helmet unless you want to. Man, once you use one of these, you will never go back. Now obviously you need to protect your hands because they're right there pretty much in the fire. And remember, when you're MIG or stick welding, you need a heavier glove like these that also protect your wrists. If you're TIG welding, a thinner glove is the way to go because it gives you a better feel of the torch and rod, and the arc is not near as violent. Of course, a quality mechanics glove will work well and give you a great feel as long as you remember that they're not near as durable or as heat resistant as a true welding glove is. Of course, protecting the rest of your body is also pretty important. And to do that, most of us will just throw on an old shirt like this, call it good. Well, that will protect you a little bit, but it's also very easy to set yourself on fire. So there is a better way to do it than this. And the best way is in a full welding jacket. Now look at this. You got leather sleeves, great protection for your arms, up around your neck, and all those vital areas. But say it's a hot afternoon, short sleeve shirt, you don't want to put on an old heavy jacket. What do? Well, that is where these welder sleeves come in. You just slide these guys up there, do your welding, then when you pull them off, no burns and no welder stand. Your shoes should be something with a leather upper, so if a hot cherry hits it, it's going to bounce off and not burn through and give you a hot foot. Tennis shoes are just asking for trouble. The final safety tip is about air. Now obviously you have got to have adequate ventilation when you're welding, but sometimes you can put yourself at serious risk and not even know it. That is why it is so important that you know the chemical makeup and the dangers of what you might be working with. For example, this is a typical brake cleaner that you can pick up anywhere, and most people use that kind of stuff to clean up parts like this before they weld them. But if you'll read that label, the main ingredient is tetrachloroethylene, which combined with the fire of your torch and the argon gas you're using will create a gas called phosgene. And a tiny bit of phosgene will kill you. And if it doesn't kill you, it will screw up your body big time. Respiratory system, lungs, the whole deal. But that's not the bad news. The bad news is once you get phosgene poisoning, there's no antidote for it, so you get to live with it the rest of your life. Now, I know some of you are thinking, geez, man, that's a little bit of a downer, isn't it? Yeah, it is. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you invest in the equipment that you need to keep yourself safe and the knowledge to keep yourself safe, you're going to have years of safe, reliable use out of your welder. And that is the happy ending that we all want to hear.
What are you working on? Brought to you by Miller Electric, the leading manufacturer of arc welding and cutting equipment for your business or home shop.
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Les Womack from Simpsonville, South Carolina. Now Les has a T-bucket and he's got a problem. It's got 411 gears in the rear, which makes it kind of a pain to drive to events. So Les wanted something that he could haul the T-bucket on, but not a trailer. So what's he gonna do? Well, he found the solution in this, a 1948 Chevy Wrecker. Now, the idea here is to take this wrecker and build it to be a car hauler, which means it needs to be front-wheel drive. And Les solved that problem by finding a 1975 Cadillac Eldorado with front-wheel drive and the 500 cubic inch engine, built himself a set of headers, and shoved it into the front of the truck. And as you can see, that is a tight fit. But when you get inside, look at all the room you've got. Now, the tail end, Les knew he was gonna have to lose that rear differential. So he designs a couple of axles for the rear that actually slide forward and allow that tail to drop down so even the lowest vehicle can drive up on it. Man, Les, that is a fantastic piece of engineering. Great job. Now, he says it still needs paint and interior, but as you can see, he's out enjoying it now, having fun with it. Now, the cool thing about this story is Les is 60 years old, and his dad is 83, and he says his dad did most of the machine work on the tail end. That is fantastic. That is what this show was all about. And to recognize you guys, we hooked up with Miller. We're gonna give you a brand new all-leather welding jacket. Yeah. Now, Lish, you may have to arm wrestle your 83-year-old dad for that. We'll just let that one go as it's going to. Now, the rest of you guys, if you want to get your vehicle featured on the show, send some stuff into staceydavid.com and we'll see if we can get it on the air. All right, that takes care of it for today. We're going to put some burn marks into Les's jacket just to break it in. We'll see you next week. There we go.